It's about time we spoke about agreement in marriage and disagreement as well. It's interesting that agreement in marriage hardly ever comes by default. It only comes intentionally and with effort. Marriage cannot work without agreement. And this is something that many couples don't realize, because the level of disagreement that I see that couples in marriages are accommodating, it is way too high. And right now we'll discuss the effects and what it's really causing, because people don't know how dangerous disagreement is in marriage. Now, like I said before, you usually will not come to agreement with your spouse automatically. So you've got to work on it by compromising. Now, if one person is a 10 or is high, other person is maybe 5 or 6 or is a 6, when you get into marriage, know this, you will never get everything you want. So there are things you've got to learn. As you enter a marriage, realize that I can't get everything I want, but I must still find agreement with my spouse. So which means I've got to compromise, let go a few things, get a few things, and settle. And wherever it is that we settle down, we agree. So if you're a 10 and he's a 6, you're not going to be able to maintain 10. You're going to step down to 8. And if he's a 6, he's going to step up to 8. So at 8, you agree. In that piece of agreement, you're together, you're united, and you're working. Let's understand this. The main goal in marriage is for two people to become one. And every time you agree on different things, your oneness is increasing. Your marriage is getting stronger. So anytime you do something that is conflicting or it is working against your oneness, it is working against your marriage. So you want to do things that will bring you together. So each time you agree, you're coming together. Every single time you disagree, you are being separated little by little. And this is how it works. Every disagreement, there's a separation. The more disagreements you have, the greater the separation. There is a critical amount of disagreement you will have that both of you will be not just emotionally separated, you'll be physically separated as well. So you've got to understand that every time you have issues, do not leave them in disagreement. Make the time and the effort to discuss, compromise, negotiate, and you come to some kind of agreement and then you stay. Because the truth is this, every time that you have disagreements, your friendliness is reducing. Think about this. You and your spouse or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you've argued over something, you ended the case in disagreement. How friendly are you towards each other? Your intimacy is impacted. Your openness is impacted. Your communication is impacted. Because to be quite frank, if I speak to you and you don't get my point, we disagree, enough, after a while, I'll stop being open to you. I'll stop just sharing my raw thoughts with you, because you've proved yourself to be a person that doesn't understand me, because you've had so many disagreements and your marriage is starting to go down. Same thing too with even trust. If each time I talk to you, you're not getting it and we're disagreeing, I will trust you less, will be less friendly. It's affecting us in all sorts of ways. And if the disagreements get to a certain level, they will be emotionally separated and will be physically separated. And let's know this, in marriages, disagreements are normal, but fighting is not normal. A lot of people think fighting is normal because they grew up in environments where they saw people fighting. They saw their parents fight, they saw aunties that fight, so they think fighting is normal. Actually, there are people who have been married for years and they've never fought. They've disagreed a lot on different issues, but they never fought. Disagreements do not have to escalate into a fight. Let's understand that. You cannot fight a person into love, into agreement. You cannot fight into intimacy. When you fight, you're losing. Both sides lose. In any time that people who claim to love themselves, when they fight, both sides lose. Can you imagine where you're holding a perception or an idea or some frame of mind on something, and you argue with your spouse, you fight them. You think that fight can result in that person saying, oh wow, I now agree with you and I love you more, as a result of the fight. It would never ever happen. So anytime you see two people fighting, that's just ignorance being played out, because you can never ever fight your way into love. You can never fight your way into peace. You get into love and peace through agreement, through compromise, through discussion, through communication, through understanding, but fighting can never give you what you want. Fighting is just a result of unbridled emotion, where you're just emotional and you just let it rip. And then, you're hurting people, you're hurting yourself you're losing ground, but at this point in time, you don't care, you're just going to fight. So fighting is not normal in marriages. It should be a disagreement, and disagreements should not be left in the zone of disagreement, because the more things you live in disagreement, you are separating yourself from your spouse little by little till it becomes emotional and physical.